Hey, good evening, everyone. State Representative Brad Halbrook, live and hopefully in demand for a few more days. As long as you want to view this video and share it and like it and subscribe to our streams. And with that, I am joined tonight by Illinois Chairman, President, Leader Chris Miller from Hinesboro in the 101 and the Illinois Freedom Caucus State Director Colin Mosley. Gentlemen, welcome to the home of truth, logic, and common sense. This is the conservative campfire that we hope you will all join in and warm yourselves with a new dose of truth, logic, and common sense that never goes out of style. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Well, we've had another fun-filled, packed day when I think that the delay was longer than our actual House action on the floor today, which is always entertaining. It's amazing how poorly the state of Illinois is run. And I remember when we had our other dear leader, Mike Madigan, around, at least the crime was very organized at that time. And the train ran maybe a little bit behind, but nothing like what we're witnessing now in real time.
Right. It's really kind of bizarre that it's consistently 30 minutes late. That's if they don't delay it 15 or 30 minutes. There's sometimes they will say, hey, look, we're going to be delayed 15 or 30 minutes, but not the case recently. They just started, I think, about 43 minutes late today. And I don't think we made it to the 30-minute mark of actual floor time. I think it was 28 or 29 minutes. Colin?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a total joke. And like Chris said, the people that were around in the Madigan days, everything that we lost with Madigan as far as ethics issues, we gained in scheduling issues with Speaker Welch. I mean, the trains are simply never on time. And I did the math last week. And by the end of the week, we had actually wasted more time being late or behind than we had spent actually conducting legislative business. And I would bet that by the end of this week, the same might end up being true. And people have to remember, every time that we are up here in Springfield, every time these people press that little yellow button or that little orange button that they're present, it's $150 in per diem that these Democrats get to be in business for half an hour. So it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and keep in mind that on Monday, we didn't do anything, and they canceled Friday, so it's going to be very interesting to see how we conquer the mountain of work that we have stacked up that just continues to pile up as we do nothing, which the only good thing about that, when we do nothing, the people are safe, so I guess I shouldn't complain.
Yeah, but Chris, here's the problem. It's kind of like little kids playing in the room when you're all there with your friends or your family, and you got the little ones are all in a room, and all of a sudden, you notice you don't hear anything out of them. They get quiet. And then you go look, and you say, what happened? But so we thought at this point in time that we might have about 15 days left. We were trying to get adjourned by May 24th, but they canceled Friday, so that chops a day off the calendar. So if I'm right, we have 14 days left, I think. So it's getting down to the short rows.
And they've got those budget hold days too, which I really hope they don't use, but who knows? I mean, they may cancel 2 more days, but then have us here for 16 hours the last week, every day, Right. I mean, all of us on here have known the days of going in at noon, being on the floor till midnight, adjourning and reconvening at 1 a.m.,
Right. Yeah. And go until 2, 3, 4, 6 a.m., whatever the case might be. So I think we can be ready to expect any of that. But mostly moving a lot of resolutions, moving some Senate bills from second to third reading the past couple of days. Probably is what's going to be the order for the next couple of days anyhow, and then come back because next Friday is deadline day to get those Senate bills out of the House.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of scheduling maneuvers they do to try to get like I said, the volume of work that we have stacked up and the number of hours it takes just to wade through the process. It would be strong leadership if they would just look at the bills and throw about 75% of them in the garbage, because that's where they belong.
Right. When we started the week, we had just over 200 Senate bills on second reading tonight. I don't know, we've moved maybe 40 of them with about 160 or 70 left on second. So not a lot of movement. But again, when they decide to get with the program, they can move a lot of bills. It's just when it comes time to vote on them on third, sometimes that could be, you could maybe move 10, 12 bills an hour voting on it or more, but boy, some of these bills might take an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. So, with that in mind, it could be kind of a long next week.
It totally comes down to what they decide they're going to call. Are they going to leave some stuff alone and try to protect their people that are vulnerable this November? Are they going to go full bore? We just don't know. But what we do know, as Chris said, is if the system was running like it should, if everything on the calendar was legitimate, then they would toss off about 75% of the bills, because a lot of these bills that come through do nothing for quality of life in Illinois. They're virtue signaling, emotion-led legislation.
Right. Nothing to reform property tax, nothing to reform income tax, nothing to reform any other regulation or rulemaking. None of that makes that better, Chris. Nothing makes that life better for any of us in the state of Illinois. Now, I know that they will argue a point different than that, but I think the numbers, the out-migration speaks for itself.
And I do think that that's an excellent point that both of you make, is none of the things that we have looked at have anything to do to affect quality of life issues in Illinois in a positive way. They aren't positively impacting family or business or organization. Everything that they have done has been negative towards those institutions that make Illinois a place that people want to live, and the way it is, the things that they're doing are making people want to leave rather than wanting to stay, and so it's really unfortunate.
Right.
And what Brad and I witnessed today. Today was Electric Vehicle Day at the state capitol.
That was monumental.
Well, and it's kind of one of those things that I think Brad and I went out of pure morbid curiosity. And boy, did they deliver. You heard the governor in his press conference talk about how Illinois is a net exporter of electricity, how the market for these things is growing. We're going to add more companies. Of course, I chuckle as I walk by all the Rivian vehicles that are there, knowing that we just had to bail them out to $800 million this week because nobody wants their product. Certainly nobody wants it to the tune of $80,000 a vehicle either.
Right.
Well, I know that one thing, I'm going to start wearing a pair of sunglasses on the House floor, because JB always wants to talk about how the future of Illinois is so bright. I mean, it's almost blinding, the success after success after success, if we can throw enough money at it. And I'd like to know really what JB Pritzker knows that the Ford Motor Company doesn't know, because I know in their first quarter report, they lost $132 million per EV that they rolled off the assembly line. And by some magic wand or fairy dust, JB is going to be the destination state for EVs here in Illinois. And I mean, it's almost laughable. And remember, I said that Rivian will be bankrupt in 5 to 8 years at the most. Write it down. It's going to happen, along with a lot of other things to do with the green energy scam.
Well, it was interesting, the 30 or 40 minutes, or maybe, I don't think we were there an hour, Colin. They had the mansion driveway lined up, they even had a school bus there.
Oh, wow.
Electric school bus. But we got to kind of be behind the scenes when the governor was doing his press conference. And it'll be interesting to see how the media reports on some of the answers to the questions like you touched on, Colin. He said Illinois is a net exporter of electricity. The pipeline. I guess one question was, what's the news of the day? What's new different than it was 2 years ago? And he talked about working 28 or 29 different EV companies or suppliers. And, of course, I think it took 19, if he's including those first 19, the first 18, I believe, were rejections. The 19th was the Chinese Communist Goshen plan in Manteno, and that was $125 million check from the taxpayers of the state of Illinois. And now here we are a few months later, and he's written, another bailout to Rivian to the tune of $800+ million, which we believe $200 million of that'll be upfront cash. What's it? Somebody's done the math on the jobs that's to be created over the next 30 years. What this $800+ million amounts to? Was that like $1.5 million?
It was around $1 million a job.
Yeah, the figure that I saw was 1.5 million per job. I'm not sure if that's job creation. I'm not sure how the math works on that.
Yeah, that's
when you have all these people during budget time in Springfield come to you and ask you for line items for this and that, and some of it's good stuff. And I know I think at some point we just have to look these people in the eye and say, look, your request is being muddled out by the governor continuing to throw almost $1 billion in subsidies at electric vehicles, to throw money at illegal immigrants, to throw money at, woke this and climate change that. I would venture to say that in the last year, we have spent probably, I would say, 5 to 10% of the entire state's budget now on subsidies for green energy and electric vehicles. It's insane.
Right.
Are you suggesting that the governor's budget will not be balanced?
I'm absolutely
I can't imagine. That's almost heresy that you would even suggest such a thing.
As a matter of fact, it's just about the exact dollar amount the governor gave to Rivian that the budget is not balanced. About $800 million.
Right. And in his budget that he proposed back in February, there's about $900 million, like you say, Colin, almost the exact amount of additional things that aren't legal yet, that aren't law, that I don't know that we've saw those or seen those yet, make it through committee or make it through the chamber for a vote to raise taxes or fees or change this or that to allow the government to keep more of our hard-earned money, the employers, the manufacturers of the state of Illinois. So it's going to be an interesting next several days as we press on towards the 24th, and we'll see what, like you said, they've got the last full week of May with this budget hold date. So that'll be kind of interesting to see what shakes out there. I'm fearful for that.
The governor's budget is extremely politically correct, and the budget identifies as being balanced. And so I think we need to take that into consideration too. But I know that we had an interesting visitor at our caucus meeting yesterday from the Commission on Government Forecasting and Accountability. And I know that using their numbers that they gave us, that the number that they had was basically $1 billion out of balance is what they're projecting the budget to be at right now. But they said the governor's scheme is to increase taxes on individuals, on businesses, on gaming, and then play a shell game with the money that's in the transportation fund in order to manipulate the numbers enough and to raise taxes enough to actually have a balanced budget. And then, but the shiny little object they're going to want you to look at is they're going to gift wrap a $12 million child tax credit. And they want you to look at that shiny object where they're stealing $1 billion out of the pockets of the working class families and taxpayers and even the gaming industry. So the long and short of it, everybody gets the bohica once again by the governor and his willing accomplices in the House of Representatives.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. Well, and the illegal immigration situation continues to rage on. We're spending $1 billion plus a year on that with healthcare, housing, education. There was a bill we saw in appropriations, an ask for $188 million to fund, 6,000 or 8,000 newcomers in the K-12 education system. ISB came in and asked for $35 million to fund, they estimate a total of 62 or 64,000 newcomers in the school system in the state of Illinois. So, Chris, you're right. I mean, Blaine, or not Blaine, I'm sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Colin, they just continue to have their hand out saying we have to fund this or that. And then Senate Bill 1 that got moved yesterday is going to create a new department, an early childhood education department that takes the responsibility of early childhood from 3 different agencies and puts it into one. That's a $13 million ask. And just the mechanics of it, they think it's going to take 2 years to get the thing operational. And I said, well, do you think you'll see any economies of scale? Do you think the budgets of these other departments will go down? How's this all going to work out? Will there just be kind of a leveling out of the money from one agency that, well, we don't really know how that's all going to go yet. So more questions than answers.
As always.
As always. Yeah. Colin, what else? What should we touch on?
Well, I think we've hit all of the most recent points. I mean, like we said, we're here tomorrow, we're here Thursday, and then we'll come back at it next week and maybe start having an idea of what is going to be new that the Democrats are going to throw out as last minute, and then maybe we'll see a budget at the end of next week, or we'll see it in the 11th hour like usual.
Well, hopefully so. I do want to touch on this. We had our Illinois Day of Prayer last Thursday and had the honor of former Congressman or retired Congressman Randy Forbes flew in to be the keynote speaker on that, and then had the privilege of doing the opening prayer on the House floor Thursday when we started. And then school groups are coming in. A lot of different school groups from across the state are coming in. So we're happy to see the kids and invite any of our youngsters out there to be pages for the day. There's still some slots there that could be filled if kids want to be a page for the day. But then today we had the honor, or I did, of having the Christian County Fair Association. We had 4 different board members, leadership up today to kick off their 100th anniversary to the Christian County Fair in Taylorville. The dates, I think, July 6th through the 16th through the 20th. So a lot of those things, that's kind of fun part of the job, if you will, guys, is to have guests in for the day or whatever the case might be. And so it's good to have them there. So what else before we close out our evening?
Well, on a positive note, I think it's encouraging that we started the prayer caucus back up again, and getting together on drive-in day 30 minutes before session to ask for God to help us in our endeavors here in the state, as well as at least on Thursday morning we'll convene for Bible study there at 7:30. There in the Stratton building, which Kurt Flex leads that, and that's a very positive thing that's going on in the Capitol complex. And so that's a wonderful opportunity to get together and study the Word of God and have fellowship with like-minded brethren. And so that's always a high point of my week anyway, those 2 events. And it helps you get through the maze of murkiness during the rest of the week.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Colin, your state director, give us a closing word, and then we'll be done for the evening.
The fight for freedom never ends.
The fight for freedom never ends. With that, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us tonight. As always, help us overcome the big tech overlords' algorithmic gods by liking, sharing, following, and subscribing to all of our content. And with that, have a good evening and talk to you real soon.